So, calling the meeting to order. First order of business is obviously Judy Kahn's resignation. So, I've spoken to the nominating committee. They're going to come up and speak to someone about being the new secretary. I don't know who. Unfortunately, no one from the nominating committee is here tonight. So, that's just kind of the breaks. But
have there been a lot of applications?
usually the nominate for the trustee, I'll get to that in a second. But as for secretary, it's usually about wrangling one of you guys into doing it. But they'll take care of that. And then actually, as far as the new trustee, I believe we have 3 resumes, and there's one here.
Four resumes so far, and one person who's interested is Michelle Viola Strait, who is the new president, right, of the Guilderland Chamber of Commerce, and also the owner of the Route 20 News and Cafe business. So thanks for coming. Basically, everyone who's emailed about the position, I've said there's a meeting tonight if you wanted to come and observe or watch on Facebook Live. And one has come to observe, and maybe the others are watching. Yeah, there you go. If anyone else is watching. Yep.
So probably what we'll do for the process, and so just so everyone knows and you know, we have the nominating committee, which none of them are here tonight, unfortunately. We'll interview the candidates and we'll vet the candidates, and then we'll bring one before this board to consider. So, and I'll totally leave that in their hands, although I'll make sure that they have, whenever they do their interviews, to let everyone know so we can all attend.
Who are the other 3?
I left the resumes on my desk. One is Amanda, is her last name Beadle, who I believe works at the town, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And then there, I could pull up my emails if you wanted to know.
Well, you know what? We'll email the resumes out after the meeting. I didn't want to get too bogged down on the new trustees at this meeting. So, but we'll email out the resumes. So I guess what I wanted from the board was kind of a sense of how long to keep advertising for the opening. I mean, 4 people are a lot. You know, I would like to ideally maybe even appoint someone by next meeting. So my thought was keep it open for 2 more weeks and then have the nominating committee do interviews before it ends. But does that sound reasonable to everyone?
Is that more than we usually have? More applications?
So last time we appointed, we had about 4 or I forget. It was about 4, wasn't it?
Seems about right.
Yeah.
Do you remember any different? Or?
I think there were 3 letters, if I remember correctly.
3, yeah.
Okay.
So it's about on average. So it's pretty good. Always pleased, because a lot of times when people actually run, it's tough to get people. Then when you appoint, it's always a lot of people want to do it. So it's great. So 2 more weeks. Is everyone okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Perfect.
That's obviously best for the library if we're able to appoint someone soon. And just a minor point, it's really not killing us, but until we get a secretary, we can't formalize our relationship with Capcom. We can go ahead and invest, but the paperwork won't be in order for the investment until we have a secretary to sign the paperwork. So it's not a huge thing, it's just something we ought to do.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the time frame. I'll leave it to the nominating committee. Hopefully they can get this all done before the next meeting, but you know, it's kind of on them. And I'm not even sure they know who their chairperson is, so, but I've talked to all of them about this.
So would I email the resumes to them or to the whole board?
You know what? You might as well just email them to the whole board.
Okay.
And then I'm going to call them all individually to make sure that they know to, you know, get on this. We would like to have this done by the next meeting.
And Michelle, just for your interest, it's the 2nd Thursday of the month that we meet, and we take February and August off. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Maybe one more?
No, there is a month that it's the 3rd because you go away.
Yeah, July.
Yes.
It's the 3rd because of the conference I go to. So.
All right. So next item is treasurer's report. Check registry.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Spend my time waiting.
No, it's perfect. Your timing was impeccable. Yeah.
So So for the month of September and 3 months then ended, we've got reports. There's nothing too crazy to report on. We obviously don't have the levy as of yet. We should be getting it in the next several weeks. But we're fine in terms of cash flow with what we have in the bank currently to cover operations until it comes in. There's no real dramatic swings in any of the expense accounts, either for the month or for the 3 months then ended. We're pretty much on track of where we anticipate to be. We are slightly under budget again as of this point, which is never a terrible thing. So unless anybody has any income statement or balance sheet actually related questions, there's nothing particularly dramatic to report on financial statement wise. To be honest, I didn't look at the check register.
Yeah,
I do.
more on us. There's more on us to do. Okay, everyone, I'll give you a couple another minute or so to see anything you have any questions on.
The Times Union goes by subscription or do we get it from the, get up at the door?
I believe we get a subscription because we wrote a check to them, right?
It's
So,
delivered.
yeah, the Times Union is, anything that can be delivered, we get delivered, and then anything that isn't delivered, we pick up at the store, so.
Just as a curiosity, do we have a mutual account? Not, we don't, do we?
A mutual fund?
Mutual fund.
No, we have
Yeah.
money markets and CDs
That's what
and
I
check.
thought.
We do have a cash sweep account, but it's not, a cash sweep account, but it's temporary, it's short-term investment facility.
Right, yeah.
And we have cancer insurance for the employees?
We do.
It's a voluntary
It's
plan.
like AFLA.
Oh, this is full here.
Everyone good? Officially reviewed? Alright. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure actually being in the same room with you for a
I'll
little
hang
bit.
out for a while because I know we're doing audit reports.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, you bet.
Yes. Nice talking to you.
Okay, so we have to adopt the treasurer's report and check registry. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion that we adopt.
Motion by
treasurer's report.
Carol, second?
Second.
Second by Kate. Alright. And so, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Alright, motion carried. Okay, so public input session. So we only have one really member from the input. Did you want to just kind of talk about yourself real quick, or did you just come in here to learn, or what?
I figured I'd come and I'd shadow. I'm a longtime resident of Gilbert. I moved here 25 years ago with one little one and 2 other ones on the way. I used the library tremendously when my children were super young. Stay-at-home mom, I was blessed to be home with them. I made some priceless relationships coming here throughout the years with the kids, the mommy and me classes and the read-alongs and so many great programs. And then as the kids got older, unfortunately, it pulled away and got a little busy with work. But it's such a great organization. It would be great now. Now my children, I'm empty nesting, and I have all this free time on my hands because my kids are all in college, and all they need is money at this point. Not me. So I would love the opportunity to get in and be more involved in the community. The chamber is a great resource, but this is down home. This is a great feel, and it would be a wonderful chance to give something back to what it's given us.
Perfect. Thank you very much for coming and kind of, seeing what we do.
Thank you.
Okay. So let's close that. Committee reports. There was one thing I just wanted to remind everyone, was we have a little form now for people to do notes of their committee meetings. Let's see. This is it. This is Chris. This is notes for the Finance Committee. So just whenever you're chairing your committee, I don't think any other committees have met, but when you chair them, make sure you get this form. Where is this form, by the way? Do we know?
I don't know. Do you?
You have it? Okay, so just get it from Jeff. It's easy enough. I guess secondly, what are we doing with these forms? Do we have some kind of file or something?
I can scan them.
Yeah, just scan them and put them in some kind of file somewhere, and leave them in your very capable hands. Perfect. Okay, so first committee up is building and grounds.
We didn't meet.
Didn't meet, but there was something important that happened, so maybe we can kind of give Tim the floor for this.
Sure. So I think I'm going to start with GDA update and roof project because they're very quick. So GDA is grant disbursement agreement. That's the $75,000 lighting grant. I turned in the paperwork shortly after the last board meeting, and nothing happened for a while until 6:08 p.m. tonight. I got an email from an accounts payable person at DASNY saying that while the grant disbursement agreement had not yet been approved, her portion had been forwarded to her, and she was looking for one particular document to have in the file so that when the GDA is approved, she can pay it. So I sent her the document and said thanks. So we may be getting the money sometime soon. Money promised in September of 2014. And then roof project closeout update. You may remember this is where we got our roof fixed for approximately $149,000, and the state computed that we had to spend $86,000 on something else in the building or give it back. So I've spoken within the last week to people at State Ed, and I have $94,000 worth of projects that almost all of them are done. There's one $15,000 project that involves replacing the 4 doors on the west side of the building where the parts have been ordered. So as soon as those doors are installed by Troy Miller, probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, I can finish the paperwork and send that in. And that will get that off of all of our desks, but also we'll get the final 10% of the $117,500 roof grant once that goes in. The Paul Mays update is just basically that the committee has met 2 more times with Paul. We have 2 more design steering committee meetings scheduled, and he is beginning to produce some conceptual drawings of rearranging the inside of the library. So that's kind of exciting, but we can't tell you anything about it because we're sworn to secrecy on the committee. But of course the board is the next party after that steering committee that gets to take a look at that stuff. 2 very small things that I want to just, they're not even on the agenda, I apologize for that. One is that Sean reminded me that we have dallied, I guess you could say, with the concept of buying a device, which I believe goes on our roof and would improve cell phone reception in the library. There are a couple of carriers that have very poor cell phone reception in the library and a couple that have very good. But this device is $20,000 minimum. That's the lowest price for one. So basically we want to ask, and we may not resolve it tonight, we may eventually have a buildings and grounds meeting where we talk about that and other things. But we want to know if we should continue researching that. One thing is we could, with whatever improvements the board might decide to make under Paul Mays, we could throw that into a project. So in other words, not do it right now, but keep an eye on it for the future. So that's one issue. The other issue is that we have the patio out back, and I don't know what year it was built, but it's beginning to sink. And we've had, I mean, it's a sad thing that the public doesn't know we have this patio, so they don't use it quite as much as we would like, but the staff certainly uses it. And we've had a couple of staff members fall because there's about a 2.5, 3-inch lip between 2 different sections of the patio. So we got an estimate on getting some work done there. We were getting that estimate in the context of trying to spend that $86,000, but I think we're good on the 86, it appears. Anyway, the improvements to the patio are about $11,000. The contractor can do them now, or he doesn't know when in the spring he might be able to do them. So currently we have a couple construction cones up on that, and basically I'm not spending $11,000 unless I get some board approval. So it's the kind of thing I would bring up at a Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, but we didn't get a chance to meet, so I just thought I'd bring it up here and see if my thought, which is basically that we could probably survive, you know, until next year and maybe get some other estimates on it, might be the prudent way to approach that, but the flip side is there's a liability out there. There's already 2 employees who've fallen. You know, nobody was seriously hurt, but if 2 people have fallen, it kind of stands to reason that somebody else will. Then the good side of that liability is nobody's going to be out there after another month or so. It's going to start snowing and the place will be closed. And the other part of the wisdom, I think, is that I think you do those kinds of repairs in the spring because I think winter is the cause of patio bricks rising and sinking and so forth. So the only reason to do it now is liability and to take advantage of the contractor's availability. It says in the spring he's busy. But my gut is to hold off on that particular one. I don't even know if this body, you know, if you want to try to make a decision on that, but I think I'm going to hold off unless you guys tell me to do otherwise. So
I mean, well, let's hear from the board. Anyone have any feeling strongly one way or another?
Yeah, the ice problem might cause even more damage in the winter time, so I think it'll be prudent to hold off until
the spring.
Yeah, I think it would be. I thought when the library was built, wasn't there some sort of a town did some sort of an assessment on the land here, and there's a lot of water.
There is a lot of water under us, yeah, absolutely. Yep, more so out that way than behind us, but definitely, like, the garden actually slopes a little bit up away from the building, so most water might be right under the building.
Yeah, a lot of.
We have some other drainage issues out there, which his work is also going to.
So that might be contributing to it too.
Yeah, it might be. Yep. So, and that's the kind of thing that.
In the spring, we might get a better idea on what the situation is.
Yep. So.
But we're gonna hold off. Is there anything we can do for safety?
Got a couple cones up, and there's just one spot. It's about twice as wide as the table, and so we have a cone at each end of it, which we could put up signs too that say "Watch your step."
Nothing you can put over it or anything.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Anybody? I mean, I'm certainly open to ideas. But we're really reaching the declining use period for the year, so it's pretty unlikely that there'll be a major accident out there.
Yeah, I just want to throw up signs, but I'm good with waiting.
Okay, so we'll wait on that. The cell phone thing, it seems to me like we just basically wait on that too.
Is it a repeater?
It's an enhancement. It's something that would be across the board for all carriers. It's but a couple times a year, somebody will come back and say, ask me, can we do something about it? And yeah, you can, but I didn't want to be the one to take and say, yeah, let's do it.
Is there Wi-Fi in the library?
There is.
Is there something we can put on, because like I have a repeater at home to boost cell signal, but it's through my Wi-Fi. I don't know if that's a possibility.
There's like all these different carriers. We actually had one for AT&T.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is not going to help every
I
single
think it's Virgin
brand.
Mobile, I think is one of the
Consumer
libraries.
Cellular.
I'm sorry?
Consumer Cellular is one, I think, that doesn't pick up too well.
And it's like maybe they say walk near a wall it'll work, and Margaret's has AT&T, and that's not great all over the place, but
Yeah, a lot of houses,
Mine
we
is,
have the same problem, like my whole development is like that, you have to go outside.
Yeah.
So, if people wanna make a call, they probably go outside and get.
they could.
Yeah, we do
My
that.
kids go outside of my house and they're going.
Now that you have an escape window, you could open it, pull the phone out, get your texts, and close it again. So.
So how about that discussion was kicked to building and grounds, but this is what I would even say is this seems even maybe we discuss this in terms of formulating the next budget, since it's a pretty good chunk of money that when we kind of talk about the next budget, might be something to add kind of into that.
Sounds good.
But I'll let your guys' committee kind of make that call. I mean, you get it to finance, whatever.
Yeah, but like you said, it was pretty expensive.
Yeah, that's a solid chunk. It might be better to do that through the budget, but
Okay, heat pumps.
heat pumps time.
So heat pumps, as you know, we applied for $253,000 in construction grant money and got zero. So the project that we framed up to replace the heat pumps, add a building management system, add a sprinkler system, and replace the ceiling tiles, our estimate of what that will cost that we used to prepare the grant application was 507,000, which is, well, 253 is half of that. So we got nothing. And as you know, we spent $48,200 hiring an engineering firm, which we had to hire in order to apply to state ed for the grant funds. So the engineering's been done on the project. The question that we need direction on is, do we do all of the project and pay for all of it? Do we do some of the project and pay for 100% of that sum? And the easy breakdown is the sprinkler system, while it is a safety enhancement, is much more optional, in my opinion, than the heat pumps replacement. The heat pumps continue to fail. I mean, we haven't had one fail in 12 months or 13, 14 months, something like that. But the 26 pumps that we want to put in are high efficiency, so there will be a 20% increased efficiency in heating and cooling the building, which obviously should result in some money savings. I'm not going to save $500,000 in the first year. The building management system, which is probably about $80,000, $85,000, goes hand in hand with the heat pumps. The heat pumps don't really work without the building management system. So one smart strategy or reasonable strategy would be to do the heat pumps, which are around $200,000, and the building management system, which is around $85,000, and hold off on the sprinkler system and replacing all the ceiling tiles. The ceiling tiles relate to both the heat pumps component and the sprinkler system component. So you obviously don't want to do those until the very last of the four things that you would do, because everything's located in the ceiling. The problem with holding off on the sprinkler system is the engineering is written to the existing building conditions and the existing code. So if the code changes, the engineering needs to be redone. So that's a theoretical possibility, and over a certain number of years, it would be an actual possibility that code would change. So, on the one hand, it would be smart to do everything, or at least to do the heat pump side of it before the code changes and you have to get the project re-engineered. On the other hand, you're talking about doing a project that has no state construction payback. We have, I'm sorry I cannot remember, but somewhere around $500,000 in our construction grant, or in our capital reserve fund, and that's about the size of the project that we're thinking about doing. Another option that Paul Mays mentioned when we made him aware of this is you could take these construction projects that need to be done and wrap them into the renovation that he's planning to recommend, and they may in fact, the necessity of doing some of these things may in fact make the project more attractive to some voters. The green side, the energy savings side may be attractive, but yet it raises the price of any renovation or small construction project. So there's a pro and a con to holding off and putting it into the Paul Mays process. Lastly, there is a National Grid incentive on the heat pumps and the building management system. I really don't know what it's going to be, but my guess would be it'll be about $20,000 or $25,000 on the whole project. So it's going to be a small balancing factor against whatever we decide to spend. The National Grid pays you back a little bit for doing this kind of thing. So my personal gut is to do the heat pumps and the building management system, and to try to wait on the sprinkler system and the ceiling tiles until either next year, when we can apply again for construction grant funds for that and for other things, or wrap the sprinkler system into the Paul Mays project with the idea that it's safety, and that might be a selling point for the public as voters. But of course, my recommendation is heat pumps and building management system, but I can only recommend. It's up to you guys to decide. So.
What can wait until next year?
all of it could wait till next year. What we'd have to do with the heat pumps is, replace any that go bad, you know, this winter. And it's winter, deep winter and hot summer when they tend to fail. They don't tend to fail right now in the shoulder season because they're not working as hard, although the weather fluctuates now so
There
crazy.
may be more money available
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah,
Because, Valley Falls won't be, asking for most of it
Right.
next year.
right, yep.
If
And,
one
yeah.
fails, and you have to replace it, is that a, factor in terms of the whole, more expensive than one individually, like if you want to divide it to 20?
yeah.
Mhm.
They range, there are 3 different sizes up in the roof ceiling.
Yeah.
And the cheapest ones are about 2,500, and the most expensive ones are about 9,000. There's like 4 or 5 of those $9,000 ones,
So if one of those goes.
and then there's a medium range.
And
So
there's an impact on replacing that though too, right?
sure, whenever they go, you have to, like, this room could have its heat pump go, and then this room would be, if it was winter time, real cold for about 2 weeks till they ordered a new one and got it in and got it
How
working.
much would it cost to replace it in one?
Anywhere from 2,500 to about 9,000. So, it's, and if I'm directed to wait till next year, I have to call the engineer back tomorrow, and I have talked to her this week, but I need to call her back and say, are we sure that other than the code issue, that this engineering will be good a year from now? Nothing, this is not a small factor, but it's an intangible in some ways. If we don't do anything, then I have to do the construction grant proposal again next year. And it's already the main thing I've worked on for the last 2 years. I would say probably 20 or 25% of my time over the last 2 years has been working on this proposal. You guys know what you pay me, so you paid the engineer $48,000, and I've probably cost you a similar amount over the last 2 years working on framing up this project. And I'm not the only one working on it. Lou Warner is working on it, Margaret Garrett's working on it, so Carol Cott's department works on it a little bit. So it costs us money to wait a year too. It probably doesn't cost us 3
Are there
years.
any of these
So-
people who, know how to write a grant request that they can seek money from foundations or something for?
That's a lot of money.
For this, I know you, I don't think you have the time to do it, but,
I don't personally think anyone in admin has the time to do it. We could theoretically hire a consultant to do it. I don't know that, and there are a lot of people funding building-related improvements, Usually they're funding literacy or, technology enhancements or that sort of thing.
When we started the capital reserve, as I remember, the 2 main projects that you had given me dollar-wise to start setting aside for the roof and the heat pumps. So if the roof is now done, and we still have the money in there, and the heat pumps need to be done, and that was the whole point of setting the money aside.
Right.
And we shouldn't be setting aside capital improvements money forever.
Mhm.
It's not a put it in the bank and don't ever use it. It's there to be used for capital improvements.
Mhm.
Or else it shouldn't be in the budget every year if we don't intend to spend it on capital improvements.
True.
To me, it seems more logical to replace all the heat pumps right now, maybe not ceiling tiles and sprinkler system.
I'm also inclined to kind of lean toward doing just the heat pumps and the building management system, because that's about how much we'd have to have paid originally if we did the whole
Good
grant,
point,
more or
yeah,
less.
good
But
point.
ultimately, I want to kind of kick this at least to building grounds for next month, because a lot of our board members aren't here. This is a huge decision, and I think we all got to mull it a little bit. But I would like to kind of have a decision for next month. But this is obviously quite a bit of money. So
And if we do decide that, then we can apply next year for the rest of it.
Sure.
yeah,
And would that be, a big, job for you? You just
Well, I've already done it
cut
twice.
something out? Or would you just
So-
cut part of it out, cut the
Yeah,
base
it's
with
cut
what-
paste job, yeah.
Okay.
well, you may have. I mean, when you forwarded me selection letter and the kind of showed me the kind of grants that currently UHLS kind of wants to fund more building expansion improvement type stuff, not an improvement.
Well,
Really-
there are certain criteria that they use. The first one was, on income poverty levels in the district, which they don't have any poverty. The second was, that.
Not enough.
They want a type of thing that they want to fund. And the third one was, whether a, library had applied for monies, in the last, 7 or 10 years. And the 3 libraries that got the money from this were libraries that had not been funded in prior years, much to the consternation of some other libraries.
And I totally understand why we've gotten funded pretty well before, and we certainly probably fail on the poverty one compared to other libraries. And the ones they did fund were, I think, mostly expansions, or weren't they? Or like building new libraries. So that's kind of where they kind of wanted to put the money. So I don't know if that changes.
Particularly,
in the
a
year.
lot of the money went to Valley Falls,
Yeah.
where that they hadn't gotten any money ever, virtually. In that this is a small rural library without a big tax base. And do we have money this year from Senator Amador, the bullet aid?
He just gave us a bullet aid check that we asked, I can't remember when we asked for it, I think the spring, for $4,000, which installed deadbolts and 30 doors or something, so. But we could ask him again when that recurs next year.
I mean, not like they did that one time, but he could certainly kind of.
Because apparently the checks went out fairly recently to all of the libraries on that.
Got ours recently.
From the, in the Upper Hudson system, the money comes from Senator Marchione and Senator Amador. Senator Marchione, he gives the same amount of money to every library, whereas Senator Amador is interested in looking at the various, plans and various reasons for the money, which is why we got the large amount of money, a couple of years ago.
One other factor on this is, I hate to put it this way because it's taken so long to get the $75,000 from DASNY, but it does appear that we're going to get that $75,000, and my guess would be that you as a board would put that $75,000 right into capital reserve. So it will defray the cost if you guys decide to spend anything. It's a significant sum of money,
They said getting money from the assembly is very, very difficult.
I, have said it before, but I enjoy saying it. I think it's cost us more than $75,000 to get the $75,000. So, but anyway, I do appreciate the goodwill of our assembly member in giving it to us. So,
Much as her heart is in the right place.
The bureaucracy.
The process is,
She has no control over it.
No.
All right, so let's kick it to your committee. You gotta have meetings. We gotta resolve this. I'm gonna send out an email to all the board members, especially ones that aren't here, to let them think about this, because I want this as like everyone's top priority thinking about this month, to kind of come to a conclusion. So, all right. So we'll kick it to.
We're just skipping over the best part of buildings and grounds,
What's
Which
that
is?
the flying squirrel.
Oh, yeah. Well, for those who don't know, an employee reached into the change return of the snack machine to get her change, and she felt something moist and fuzzy. And they found out it was they thought it was a mouse at first, because we don't have mice, but we occasionally have mice, and then we go out and kill them. But it was a North American flying squirrel. It had somehow, it was a small one anyway, and it had somehow gotten into the snack machine. And when we called the company, they said, well, if you find any snacks in there that are gnawed, just save them and we'll give you a refund. Anyway, so.
I told that story at the end of the Upper Hudson meeting, yesterday afternoon.
stuck a box in front of it and hit the machine and tried to get it to jump into the box, but it went away. So then they got out, they have a heart trap and put some peanut butter on it, and they had it within like 5 minutes. So, so they took it outside where it is ready to come on back into that snack machine.
Right, I was
So-
gonna say, it's from the home.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so building and grounds, we good?
Yeah, we'll have a meeting.
Okay. So we'll bump over to finance. Chris can't be here; he's out of town. So he asked me to give the report. So I'm just gonna more or less read his minutes that he had. So Katie, Vince, and Nate from Teal Becker presented the audit. The committee recommends that the board approve the financial statements and letters as presented. 990 tax return will be prepared by Teal Becker. It should be approved at the November board meeting.
They've prepared it, I have it, I
Oh.
haven't reviewed it yet.
Okay. So
I don't have it, like,
Oh, all right. So we're not approving it tonight, though. All right.
no.
All right. Okay. So, okay. So then we discussed restricted funds in preparation. You know a little more about this by the GPL to get funds unrestricted by the Attorney General's office.
Oh yeah,
This
it's
is,
the Curtis and Fawcett funds.
I was supposed to look into this and I never did.
Yeah,
That was my failure.
we discussed those two funds where donors had given us money for purposes, but we weren't earning enough aren't earning enough interest to fulfill the donors' wishes. So Brian's gonna look into, the legalities
Yeah.
of
we can do this.
other things we could do in order to pay out some of that principal, if it's legal, to meet the needs or meet the wishes of the donor, so.
So I'll take care of that. That fell off my plate. Okay, Carol Cott is to research and recommend CD laddering to the committee. I guess you have another couple of weeks to do that, but
We've actually done it.
oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So.
Could it go tonight, or do you want to wait for the finance meeting?
Well, we're under the impression that we were gonna basically just enter into the same agreement with Capcom that we did last year, same amount per month, but, getting started, a month or two earlier this year, because you may remember that it took us a long time to get it done through this time period last year. But now it's just basically the same plan. The question that he was talking about is, we weren't sure it was the same plan, but then when we got to thinking about it and talking to Capcom about it, we have roughly the same size levy. We have almost exactly the same size cash flow, so it just makes sense to do it the same way we did it last year. So
Okay. Did we have board approval last year? Did we need anything from us this time around?
I don't remember. You
Alright,
wouldn't
well-
know, Carol, you didn't start till January.
Alright, well, so I guess if you need board approval, next meeting is the meeting to,
Okay.
get that. Okay, we're gonna send out an RFP for accounting services to local accounting firms. That looks like it's on the agenda for later, so.
It went,
It went.
It
the
went.
RFP went.
Oh, the RFP went?
Yeah, 16 firms got the RFP.
Oh, alright. Alright, I guess we can talk about it. So 16 firms, when do they have to respond by?
December.
December 1, so we should be able to decide a firm. Could we have to,
Finance is gonna have to meet probably at least once to look at proposals based on how many come in, and then what we did the last time when we did an RFP was we actually had like our top 3
I think so.
come in and do a presentation, so we could get a feel for manager who's gonna be on the account, and then chose based off of that. So you're looking at minimally 2, maybe more finance meetings before you would have a
Okay.
choice.
The more likelihood, if we're not meeting in February, then probably March meeting would be. Does that interfere with the schedule at all?
Well, no, I meant like you would want finance to meet like in December
Yeah.
to look at the RFPs after they come back, and then maybe in January to meet with firms before they get too ramped up, because you're not gonna get them to come in and do proposals in March.
Alright, so it really has
Or
to be.
May.
Okay. Alright, so try to get it for January. Okay. Tim to prepare management response letter to Teal Becker, management letter.
haven't done that yet,
Okay.
sorry.
So we'll do that for next meeting. I think we told you you had a month to do that anyway, so.
Almost did it, but just not quite.
Yeah, that's right. I think we said that's not imperative for tonight anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, then the committee discussed the tax bills for the 2 parcels of the land, and whether it should be paid or not. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I guess the board said to not pay them until we had some questions resolved. So I'm almost positive that we didn't pay them, so we'll have to pay them and authorize that tonight, I guess.
You wanna pay them tonight? Or, we didn't cut checks for them, did we?
We'll not pay them tonight, but I guess we'll give the okay
Has
because,
the issue been resolved?
I think Chris was supposed to follow up with the town.
Did he?
I don't know, you know.
Chris,
Okay, it wasn't
Because
a
you
unanimous
they
decision.
didn't, yeah, because the board majority didn't want to pay it until the issue was resolved now, so
well,
we need to get the issue resolved, and unless, if we pay it now, we could have paid it last month.
Right, and saved $72.
this is what Chris said was that
72.
I think he contacted the town or looked up when the tax year goes by, and we would be in possession of the parcel for at least half the year. So he kind of at that point had said, all right, like I'm not going to talk to the town at this point, because that to him was, from my understanding, was his question was when, how long we would have the parcel for that the tax year was assessed for.
The tax year it's a June to June or a July to July year, and his question was, does it go from like September?
Yes.
Such that if we changed ownership now, we'd only be 2 weeks into the tax year, but we're
Yeah.
not.
That's exactly right. So in his mind, and I'm sorry to speak for him, because he's not here, but it's kind of resolved. We do have to pay the tax bill, even if we were to transfer it perfectly, and it's we'll talk about. We had a meeting with the school. It's not likely it's going to be like tomorrow we're going to transfer these properties. So even if we did, I don't think that would resolve our tax bill anyway. So that's something that I was looking into. But
That was one of those lessons in my
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we had to incur a little bit of a late fee, but that's the breaks. So I guess make sure you get the check out.
I make a motion to pay the tax bill.
Okay.
I second it.
All right. Perfect.
So then I'll walk over to your house to get your signature and, so. It's actually 2 tax bills, not to be,
Both of them.
I make a motion to pay both the tax bills.
I second both of them.
there's no way to cut a check, to prepare a check tonight, is there?
Do you have the invoice?
I'm off tomorrow. I can come by and sign any checks. So yeah, don't
We
kill
have
yourselves.
until the end of the month to pay it without any further,
I would think so, yeah. October 5th was the first deadline, and so I think we have till November 5th, so we're not.
I can- yeah.
or at least to the end of October, since the deadline, the other deadline was based on the lateness that the bills were sent out.
I wouldn't deal with that one.
Ryan will report later on, we met,
Yeah.
with the school.
That was a good meeting. Okay. So personnel, labor management.
Whoa, you didn't make a motion to accept the financial statements and the management loan.
Oh, yeah, it's all right here. Okay, we should probably look at that stuff then before we approve it. Do you want to talk about it at all? Where is it?
Oh, I think she did, didn't she?
You mean the audit financials?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's later on the agenda, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
we could certainly do it now.
No, let's do it now. So is that why you're hanging?
No. I wasn't looking at the agenda and I just assumed because you were talking about it under finance, that it was under finance. But if you've got it listed for later on the agenda, do it later on the agenda.
I mean, if we did this, would you then go, I don't want to keep you here,
Doesn't matter.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no, you're fine.
All right, so that's end of finance unless someone else has anything else. Okay, Herb.
Personnel and Labor Management Committee has not met, however, in the very near future, there will be a labor management meeting with CSEA representatives, and we can report on that at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. Policy. So as you know, Judy was the chair of the policy committee, and so she stepped down. So there's an opening. I contacted Carol. She was very kind enough to accept the chair. It's yeah. So that's going to be very exciting. I guess
There aren't a lot of urgent matters
Yeah.
before us. I mean, what we have done in prior years is find the 3 or 4 oldest policies and review them. So why don't Margaret and I commit to doing that? And if we think that any changes are necessary, we'll call Carol.
perfect.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Beautiful. I don't need to be involved whatsoever. So yeah, it's all Carol.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
UHLS.
UHLS, we had a very interesting meeting yesterday. The first thing that we did was adopt a budget for the next year, and if anyone is interested in the proposed budget and the proposed Central Library Development Aid budget and the financial statements, I have them here, and
Can I see the budget?
you can have the whole package.
Oh, nice.
The major topic, though, however, at the meeting, was the aid that, 13 of the 16 libraries did not get. This year, there was a slightly larger pot of money, but almost everybody seems applied for aid with different projects, which was Tim Burke's fault for encouraging this. He made a special effort to encourage libraries to apply for aid because they had to give money back last year. So he gave the impression to a lot of these libraries that they would be getting money, which they did not get, and some of the libraries were very upset, particularly those who were used to getting money every year. And there was talk about why didn't they give each library a little bit, different things, and the public relations in that there are libraries who are very upset. There were 2 libraries who wrote protest letters to the
What
to
two
the
libraries?
chairman. Those are Albany and Voorheesville. And Albany particularly was very incensed that they did not get money, since they felt that they were the largest library and had the most projects and did the most work on these things. They had 7 branches, and they were not being remunerated as they felt that they deserved to be. Voorheesville also felt they should get some money. They were, they had a smaller project than Albany, but the other libraries were also upset. Colony has a big project, and they
I'm thinking, we should have written a letter now.
didn't get any money, and the letter, it didn't help those
No.
libraries. And also East Greenbush had a big project for quite a bit of money.
Mhm.
But a lot of the libraries felt that if they had gotten a little bit, they still wouldn't have been able to do their project because of their tax base and whatnot. Steventown had a project, but if they had gotten $18,000 instead of $60,000, they wouldn't be able to have raised it. And East Greenbush and the others are going to try to figure out ways, just as we did, to do these projects, with other means of financing. But there was, people were mad at Tim Burke, and there has to be something, next year to clarify, what the amounts of money are and what's coming in and what needs to go out, so that the libraries don't expect something that they're not getting.
Now, who makes the funding decisions?
The
Tim?
services committee of the Upper Hudson Library System, which there are delegates to the library, trustees of the library system who are on the services committee, and it very difficult for them this year. They had to hold several meetings because they had to pretty much judge which libraries would get the money based on, criteria that they were using, the three criteria that I mentioned before, and it was a difficult decision. So, because all of these libraries are deserving, even though, Albany, of course, thinks that they're more deserving than anybody else. But, and the projects are good projects all over the board.
I thought you had to show ability to fully pay for the project to apply for the grant.
I think that's more of a state thing.
Yeah, it's
No.
true for school district libraries. I'm not sure if it's true for the non-school district ones, but we have to, for sure.
Yeah, no, apparently they don't have to because they usually only have to pay for 50 or 25% based on the money that they would get in the grant. So particularly the smaller ones, the libraries that are, I don't know, what do you call it, association libraries or whatever, they don't have to do this apparently, just some of the larger, I guess, the Albany. I don't know, is Albany a school district library?
Municipal.
Municipal, yeah.
Municipal.
And Cohoes is a municipal, but, Gilderland and Bethlehem.
So by municipal, that the city funds them?
Yeah, like Cohoes is another one of those. And you have the small ones that are, I don't know where, association library or whatever that are, just on their own. But this has become an issue, and apparently, Tim Burke spoke to other library system people throughout the state, and it's been an issue in other library systems even before this, places like Long Island and the Mid-Hudson, but the Capital District has been lucky not to have this problem in the past. So, some planning has to be done, in the future to try to come up with, so that we know what's being asked for at least a little earlier, so that, steps can be taken to see if libraries can, cut back on their projects or whatever if there isn't enough money, so that was what most of the meeting was about.
It's very eventful.
Yeah, that the flying squirrel.
Margaret just reminded me that Judy's resignation letter has to appear in the minutes of this meeting. So I don't know if that means it has to be read or.
I can read it.
Okay, I pulled it up.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so.
Maybe, actually, can we do this maybe?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah, whenever you want.
yeah, new business.
New
I'll
business,
put that at
okay.
the top of new business.
Okay.
I run one meeting, it was fine.
I'm not sure there's a causal
Yeah.
reason.
All right.
Brian misses one meeting.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So last is foundation. You wouldn't happen to have any update on foundation stuff?
Sure. Basically, I have a pocket full of tickets if anyone would like to buy tickets to the, and I know many of you have volunteered to sell tickets, and some of you gave me tickets tonight. The subcommittee for this, or gave me checks tonight. The subcommittee for this has met, I think, twice since the last board meeting, and the last time we had a meeting, we had sold approximately 78 tickets. I think it's up around 100 now, and it should be picking up as we get closer to the October 26th date. Certainly, we hope that all the trustees and foundation members will be there. You can buy tickets online or, at our front counter. What else could I update you on related to that? I mean, the planning, as Brian can attest, because A, his wife is on the foundation, and B, Brian has always helped out with our events,
Yeah.
the foundation's
Intensive.
events. It's very intensive and it's very sort of, sort of last minute, but in a good way. I mean, I think it's going to be a nice evening, but the foundation, depends a lot on volunteerism of its members, and everyone's working hard, I guess
Yeah.
is what I would say. So, from Aaron's point of view, do you think anything to add? Or?
Well, yeah, no, I think it's always the same. It's putting on an event is always super intensive, and probably with any organization, I think some people work more than others. So, I think it'll be a great event. It's here. Everyone should come.
You'll have the bartending schedule posted behind the bar, so that.
Yeah, Chris is in charge of that, but he has emailed it out and he'll post it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure.
saw it,
So,
yeah.
I erased it, somehow I erased it.
Yeah, you lost some emails, so I'll get that
all
to
right,
you.
yeah.
I'll get that to you. Bartending schedule to her. So it's going to be a fun event, and it's we have 4 corporate sponsors now. We got picked up Crossgates as a sponsorship, and the Tenite Group, and Jaeger and Flynn, and Empire Distributing, I believe, is the 4th one. I might be missing one. We might be up to 5. So between the sponsorships and the ticket sales and the donations, we're in the black with this already. But in your own professional and lives and in your neighborhood and so forth, because it's coming up on the 26th, you might get questions about it. So be ready to send them my way, or Mark Curriali's way, or to our front counter, or to the web to buy tickets. We'd love to have them there.
There's one other thing that I have to do with Rosemary's. As you recall, our board is supposed to appoint their board, and we've never done that, at least not since I've been here. So I asked Rosemary to get me a list of their board members and when they wanted to be appointed, because they get appointed to 3-year terms alternating. So she's never got that to me, and I don't know if she's quite grasps the concept of it, that her board is not quite official. So I got to work on that to get that, but that's also coming down the pipe, so we have to do that hopefully next meeting.
I guess one thing I would add is that one thing that's going to happen on the evening of the 26th is Rosemary, as president of the foundation, is going to give some brief remarks, which are going to include kicking off an annual fund campaign like almost every not-for-profit has. So in the last quarter of each year from here on out, the foundation will be using a big mailing list to send out a lot of letters and try to raise money through that means. And they are, of course, hoping that they get something from Paul Mays to create as their target. Whether it's a bigger children's department or new carpeting or whatever it might be. It's a lot easier to raise money when you can tell people what it is that you want to do with the money, which is natural, but we haven't been in a position as a foundation until almost now. We're not quite there yet, but soon the library's development process as a building that Paul Mays is working on with us will dovetail with our fund development process and hopefully start to take off. So.
And the next time they have a fundraiser, they might want to consider an ad journal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. They had one for the first gala, but then not for the second gala, I don't think. So I'll mention that too.
I think originally they didn't think this was. It became more of a gala than they originally planned this event to be. So, but that was a good suggestion. Okay, we don't need to accept committee reports, right? I don't think so.
Right.
Okay, staff and directors report.
Okay, just a few things. First of all, I think it would be just appropriate if you run into any staff members that you're connected with to commend our staff for their excellent work with the active shooter training that we did 2 weeks ago. It's very intense. We're not done with it yet. We're going to do a 2-hour drill from 8 to 10 one morning with live police response and that whole thing. But we're preparing for the worst. And you could tell after one of the 3 days that just when you run through the scenario, you're a lot more likely to save yourself and to save others, just from having pretended it was going on. I mentioned in my report that I attended my first meeting as a member of the board of the Guilderland Chamber of Commerce. And I really don't have much to say yet because I've only been to one meeting. But I think that it will be a good relationship for the library, and I hope for the Chamber of Commerce as well. All of the managers in the building who manage people are going through a 10-part, this is not on my report, but we're going through a 10-part webinar series offered by EAP on managing people and how to do that successfully. And it's hoped that one of our outcomes will be that our approaches towards managing our staffs will become more like one another, so that there's kind of a standard within the building. The New York Library Association annual conference is coming up in Saratoga November 8th, 9th, and 10th. David Gilliam, who's in the room, we have spoken to David about one of the things in the management letter, and we have worked out a plan, thanks to Margaret, to make David a provisional fiscal officer in the same title that Carol is in. And both Carol and David will need to take the test in the spring, but this will remove pretty much the major item from our management letter that we were paying him as a consultant, and that isn't the right thing to do. We also just completed, again with the Guilderland Police Department, at least once a year we do the RAD, Rape Aggression Defense Training, and it just wrapped up on the 5th of October. It's a 3-night intensive for 16 women from the community, and people really appreciate it. I think, again, it probably, hopefully, will save lives. On October 28th, Saturday, I think from 10 to 2, we'll have another of the drug take-back days. We've gotten between 800 and 1,000 pounds of drugs every time that we've done this that are being kept out of our water supply. So just wanted to mention that, and hopefully perhaps I can ask the chamber in one of their emails to promote that. But it's good for everybody, and it also October 28th, a Saturday. It also helps with the opioid crisis, because if they're not in your medicine cabinet, you can't get hooked on them. Your grandkids can't get hooked on them, etc. So that's all I wanted to say about staff and directors.
So are you and Margaret going to the Saratoga Springs meeting?
The Saratoga, I'm going, and you're not, right? We have a fair number of librarians going, and a couple of clerks, I think. And next year it's in Rochester, so we don't tend to go as much then, just because of the travel.
So you're going for the day, or you're going to stay?
I'm going for 3 days, but I come home at night, so to save, $150 a day. Yeah, I'd also rather see my family than stay in a hotel, so. And it saves us money. Nobody stays overnight when we go to Saratoga. So.
Unless you're a presenter.
Unless you're a presenter,
Yeah.
yeah. And even then, sometimes if you're presenting early in the morning, So, yep, we're going. In fact, I think we have a presenter, if I remember right.
I don't think we do this year.
Not this year? Okay.
No.
That's always a good thing to do. So that's it. Do you need a motion to approve?
Yeah, has everyone sufficiently read the report? Okay, motion to approve the staff and directors report.
So
By Kev?
Second.
Second by Herb. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Alright, unanimous. Alright, new business, yes. Okay, so this is Judy's resignation letter. Dear Brian, I've decided it is in my best interest of the library, it is in the best interest of the library and my own to reside from the Board of Trustees effective immediately. My resignation letter is below to be recorded. I realize that I no longer can make enough difference to justify remaining a trustee. No one particular event tipped the scale, but a series of decisions and actions relating to the library have concerned me during the last several months, and issues raised at and since the last board meeting made it clear to me that this was the right time for me to step down. I understand this will cause some inconvenience, and I apologize for that. On a personal note, this is more personal to me. I hope to remain an enthusiastic patron, and I will more likely be able to do so now that I'm not involved in the governance of the library. Okay, I think that's enough. more, but it's more not important to everyone. So, okay. So do we have to accept that resignation, or is it just?
That I don't know, I think, other
I guess
than
it's
Mr.
read.
Gannon.
Why could we possibly accept it?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so, okay, so that's Judy's resignation letter. I just wanna kinda talk about it a little bit in executive session, if that's fine. You know, I don't think we need to belabor it too much, but obviously Judy was a huge loss, so, I'm very sad to see her go. But she, you know, made the decision she feels best for her, so, moving on. I took the logo discussion off the agenda, mostly because we had so many board members missing. This is kind of an important discussion, so we're gonna have it next month, come hell or high water. So I guess kind of make sure you think about where you wanna go with the logo, and because we're gonna probably discuss it extensively at the next meeting. And I've heard from board members everything from let's start the process over again from the get-go to, you know, let's move on and try to improve it going forward. So, you know, try to figure out where in that scale you fall, and we'll try to come to a conclusion as a board. So, but we'll do that next meeting. Okay. Change in the circulation cash register procedures.
Yep, so the resolution, I'll ask Carol to talk about it a little bit, but the resolution is we request to increase cash for circulation cash register from 300 to 535 to implement new daily cash register reconciliation procedure. So tell us what you'd like to do.
Well, it's actually as a suggestion from Bill Berardi. He had done some research, and it's kind of a best practice that the register currently has $200 sitting in the register at all times and $100 in backup. And the senior clerks would reconcile the drawer every morning, which is taking away from their other duties. So his suggestion is just to keep standard $100 in the register on a daily basis, and at the end of the day, or at the end of the day, they would just run the receipts, take all the cash, put it in a bag, put that in the drop. In the morning, they take out a new bag, start with $100 set cash. So the reason we want the additional $200 is to cover a weekend, because we need on Thursday we need to make up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's bags, and then still have a bag left over for backup in case they had large bills or run out of some coins or singles. So that's why we're recommending $500. So just increase it by $200. But at any given time, there's only going to be $100 in the cash register.
Which is actually $100 less.
$100 less than we
Right.
had before.
Right.
Is
So
there
wait, why
money
is it
that goes out, or
535?
just money that comes in?
I'm sorry?
Is there money that goes out, or just monies that come in?
It's just money that comes in. That's just to make change. The $100 is in there just to make change.
Is there a reason it's 535? It seems somewhat obscure number.
Just so we can save, the $35 is for coins.
Okay.
So we can have that backup coins. We don't have to run to the bank every time we need, $10 worth of quarters or 50 cents worth of pennies, which is what we normally don't have. So it's just to have that stock.
Perfect. Any other questions? Okay, so you have the motion in your packet. Do I have? Does someone want to make it? Jason. Motion.
I'll
Is there a
second.
Second by Kate. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Standard workday resolution.
Margaret, you wanna say?
Carol and I earlier this month attended workshops on the upgrade in the New York State retirement system, which is going online. And the new program will feature probably around May 2018. And so what we want to do beforehand, and since attending that workshop, is to make sure all our paperwork on site is in order. And we can't find our old standard resolution for a work day. And I honestly think it was so old that we weren't even open 7.5 hours when we did it. So what we're doing now is just making sure for the record we have it noted that our standard work day for most of the employees is a 7.5 hour work day, and that those in admin, there's a second resolution, and those titles in admin have a 7 hour work day. And we keep this recorded once it's signed on site in the event New York State Retirement wants to take a look at it.
All right. Makes sense.
So it's actually two resolutions, the top
Right.
of each of the pages.
Okay, sorry.
And, yeah,
Perfect.
So,
Probably should read it, just for the public. Be it resolved that the Gillen Public Library, location code 50829, hereby establishes the following as a standard workday for its employees and report days worked to the New York State and local employees retirement system based on timekeeping system or the record of activities maintained and submitted by these members to the clerk of this body. So, and they both say the same thing, but the workday resolutions are different amounts. 7 for the admin, 7.5 for the other staff. So, is there anyone? Can I get anyone to make a motion of what I just said? You just have to say I'm making a motion.
I have a question.
Yes, of course.
Okay, is there a difference based on the CSEA unit for some of these people? Are the people are
Unit-
some of the 7?
Unit 1 and 2 each work 7.5-hour workdays.
Okay. And the 7-hour people are,
Salary and administration.
okay.
Any other questions? Can I get a motion?
I make a motion.
Jason, second?
I second it.
All right, seconded. All right. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carried. Okay, trustee dinner. Basically, I need someone to organize this. I was probably going to ask Peter or Barbara. They normally do this, but they're not here. Is anyone willing to organize a trustee dinner? Usually, it's a dinner we have. It's we honor retiring or resigned trustees. So in this case, Judy and Dan. And I think it'd be a nice event to do. Anyone willing to do it? Do we want to, as a board, make one of the people that aren't here do it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. How about Peter? You good with that? So, all right. So as a board, we're telling Peter he is now in charge of the dinner. So that's what happens when you don't show up.
so
Although Barbara will probably have opinions.
Or yeah, I mean they can hash it out together. I'll appoint a special committee for the trustee dinner, and I'll appoint those two.
were you looking, I mean, maybe you don't, do you want to have it before January 1st or after January 1st?
I could care less.
Okay.
So unless someone feels strongly one way or another. No, I'll leave it to Peter and Barbara to do whenever they want. Is there a reason why? Like,
I just wondered, the holiday season will be kind of busy for everybody. And,
Yeah.
Is it like low key or is this a big thing? Like,
have you never gone for? Oh no, it's very low key. It's just us, significant others. I think the last couple times we invited foundation members and their significant others. We used to do it at Dorados and just had the room. It was very low key. Dinner, get to a chance to not talk library business with people, and it served for a little while as a chance for us to get to know the foundation as well. So no, it's very low key. So, but
you do kind of need a restaurant that has a room.
yes,
Yeah.
Which can be a little hard.
yeah, it's not so low key. It's not like we're showing up at our recovery room and grabbing a long table. So
Like how many people usually?
most of the trustees come with a significant other, so you're looking at maybe 30 people altogether.
We've done it at Pine Haven, Dorados a bunch of times.
I think I've only ever done it at Dorados. I never did it anywhere else.
But as we approach the holiday season, people do their Christmas parties and
Right.
do book those rooms.
So it'll be easier to get a room probably after
January
January 1st.
So I'm hearing after January. I'll tell them after January sometime.
Just as an idea, we could theoretically have it here and have it catered.
I think generally we try to do it somewhere else so we can kind of get away from
Get away.
library stuff.
Okay.
So that was kind of the reason we don't get locked in on library stuff.
Western Turnpike Golf Course has been very eager to work with folks in the area.
They did hold one of our foundation events, and it was good. It was a nice event. All right. I will let
Town
everybody
one
know.
too, Moses.
That's it.
Well, yeah, that is the Western Turnpike.
Yeah, they're great to work with, I'm sure they would extend themselves for the library.
I'll make that suggestion. Yeah, because that would be a good event for like the smaller little room. Like we don't need to go crazy. Okay. All right. So I will let Peter know he's in charge. Okay. Old business. The audit finally. So you want to talk about the audit at all?
No,
All right. Let's look at the audit.
not a trustee, man.
We can still discuss. You're a treasurer. So you're a trustee. You're just not an
We talked
elected
about the 99,
or
I
voting
don't know if we
trustee.
talked about the audit.
My audit.
Basically, Katie Doran and Vince came and presented at an audit committee audit committee meeting. Went through the financials themselves, went through the management letter, went through their opinion briefly. We talked briefly about some upcoming standards that aren't gonna affect the library for another year. It was a small discussion of just various points of the financials themselves, nothing that caused any changes in the financials. And that was it. I don't think anybody, I don't remember really, there wasn't anything major that came up in the discussions.
As a matter of fact, you know, like, if I could be the cheerleader, you know, they said it was one of the cleanest audits with the highest level of, whatever the word is, but they were very heavy, you know. They had the major issue was employing people as consultants, so we've taken care of that issue. There were two minor issues. One is that some employees did not have a certain signed document in their file, so I believe we've taken care of that.
Salary sheet, yeah.
And the other was an issue over the Sunday pay, but it had to do with the fact that the MOUs were signed with the two units of the union but not dated. So when the auditors went to look at particular Sunday pay, they didn't know which agreement was in effect. But we were able to choose, we were able to establish a date by which we all knew that both MOUs were in place, and after that, we have paid according to the agreement with the union. So that's essentially an issue for the time period they were auditing, but no longer an issue.
Okay, that was, that, you're speaking in regard to the observations that the.
Yeah, yep. And really, this will be a fairly easy letter to write. I keep getting real close to writing it, and then I get interrupted, and I haven't written it, so we'll get it done by the next board meeting, certainly.
About vacation time. Hasn't this one been in here the last couple of times?
Let's see.
That is the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said it was in the last previous one.
Yeah, we in fact sent an email this week, right?
Yes.
To
Actually, last Friday.
last
They did.
Friday to enforce, to let people know that we're enforcing this rule. I think if I can generalize, I think that enforcement of it was relatively lax, you know, up till now, basically. That
Who
makes sense?
enforces it?
That's my job ultimately, to enforce it, but the department heads have to enforce for their employees.
Mhm.
Right, they have to approve the
Yes.
vacation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, there's a form for it, right?
is there a
Well,
form?
it's online, it requests time
It's
off online.
Online. And
So what we've done is notify everybody of the caps that they're allowed to carry over and to take a look at their accruals. So if it's beyond that, then they need to start to spend down now, not everybody taking off 3 days in December.
So they all know what they have left.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
they can see it right on the computer.
And our employees are very good at keeping track of their accruals.
Thankfully, yes.
And the person with verbal authorization now has written authorization.
Let's see, there was one instance where they got verbal.
Well, I mean, then they probably want their vacation, so it's
As I
probably
say, that's
done
old.
deal. Yeah.
To my knowledge, there's nobody in that category right now. I'll have to double check.
As long as, yeah, you're able to make that adjustment going forward, that's really all I'm concerned about. Don't we normally get the actual audit, or?
I believe you
You
got
should
it
have
in
it.
an email.
Yeah.
Okay, alright, so we all got the.
Everyone should have it.
You do have to do audit.
Yeah.
I do think I remember seeing an email. Just no,
Must be when my computer wasn't working.
Well, the other
maybe
thing,
her might have it.
the other thing related to your most recent question is that Teal Becker wanted to switch it up this year to be more like all of their other audits and wanted to present the audit formally to the Finance Committee and Audit Committee rather than to the full board. And I think part of that was that either Vince or Katie or Nate must have had some sort of a commitment tonight. But it allowed them to try to do it the same way that they do it with other clients.
I mean, I had no problem with them presenting to the finance committee. I think it was fine. It's little, it allows it to be a little more focused. So maybe I'd like to be able to give the board physical copies next time. But so
Okay.
if we remember next time,
You want physical copies?
yeah.
Yeah.
Not this. I mean, you know, if you can remember for next year. I would
Oh,
say.
for next year.
Yeah, no. Unless someone wants an actual copy, please. But
I can just email one out to everybody if that's,
Yeah, I
I would
didn't see
have
that.
it.
what's that?
I would have it.
Yeah. If you don't mind emailing out, and then maybe next year just have like if we remember, like a physical copy so people can look
We
at it.
haven't received the finals.
right.
We haven't received
Ban on
finals
top.
copies.
No?
We have the draft.
Oh, okay.
No.
Got the draft, right.
Oh, all right. Then maybe I'm worried for no reason.
Now, I gotta ask at this point, Vince emailed earlier today and he said that, please let me know tomorrow if the board approves the audit and the 990. But it sounds to me from previous discussions,
They're not
right,
approving the 990.
we can't approve the 990 yet, right? So,
He's
Yeah.
going on extension.
assuming you take a vote, it's gotta be just on the audit and then the 990 in November, right? So,
Okay, so I'm gonna email
Okay.
those both. You got the 990?
we
No,
don't have
we
it,
don't.
well, somebody has.
I haven't reviewed it,
Yeah.
so, I mean, you can take a look at it if you want, but typically there are changes. There have been changes in the past. but-
All right. Well, yeah. Then do your thing with the changes and just get to us whenever you can. But this is where we're not voting on that tonight. So just the audit. So a motion to approve the audit and the audit letter.
Motion.
Second.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. We discussed the audit RFP. Is there anything more to add on that? No? Okay. Land transfer update. So Tim and I went to a board meeting, or a committee meeting of the Gilman School District. What's the committee?
It's called business practices.
We talked about transferring the land. They were receptive to it. I would say they were all very supportive of it. So we can kind of move forward. I guess the one thing that I do remember that we discussed was there's probably going to be some kind of legal costs associated with it, which I said the library would pick up. I think that's reasonable since we're the one trying to initiate this transfer to save ourselves some money. So.
Is that extra in addition to the attorneys we have on retainer?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, there's no cost, but I think everyone believes there will be some kind of costs.
You're gonna pay a couple $100 for a real estate attorney to do a transfer tax. and-
Okay, it's a special attorney, it's a
Yeah.
different attorney that
Real
we have
estate
to go to.
attorney.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they accept the land, you're talking about this land?
Yep, this is our, yeah.
So if they accept the land, does that mean they can do something with it?
You have
Oh.
to edit, you have to edit the memorandum of agreement.
Which we actually did discuss, thank you.
Okay.
We did discuss, yes, so we'd have to edit the memorandum, which is a good thing, not only because we have to edit it, but I don't think anyone's looked at it. I mean, I've never even looked at it since I've been here, and I've actually probably been here the longest now, so, or not the longest, but on the board for a while. So it would be a good time to reassess the memorandum of understanding with the school district, as well as, kind of adding to this new property. So.
Will
And-
there be filing fees in addition to the attorney?
Yeah.
One of the things that the Christine Hayes, the president of the school board, mentioned is that the school district will be sending someone to inspect the land and to see if there's an environmental review on file. And I asked at the meeting whether that was someone that was on their staff or whether they would need to hire someone. And I think the answer was that it's not outside kind of a person, but not quite sure. So this is not, I don't mean to criticize But, I mean, like at the last meeting, for those that were here, it was like, oh, this is easy, they'll just take it, it'll be done. It'll be done in October and we won't have to pay the bill. And
No.
that is not the case.
No, this is-
It's gonna take a little while,
Yeah,
so.
this could, I mean, this could take a year, I mean, it's certainly possible, I don't expect this to be overnight, so, and mostly because we don't really know what we're doing, we gotta talk to lawyers, like, there's gonna be a learning process for us, so this is not super clear cut. And I think everyone wants to make sure this happens, but is done right, and no one gets, the school district's not trying to get stuck with some property that, is environmentally contaminated or something, so they're gonna take their time, and we have to do our due diligence as well, so.
To go back to Carol's previous question, if I may, the MOU governs the relationship between the two organizations, and verbally at the meeting, we said, yes, we probably need to take a look at the MOU and update it, but nobody anticipates any change in the relationship or any school district activity on these two vacant lots. They're just doing it to help us save money on the tax
Okay,
bill.
so the ownership though is going to them,
That's the plan.
so they could develop it into something if they wanted.
No,
to.
not under the MOU, just like they own this building, and they're not gonna do anything with it, because under the MOU, the library governs this building and the land underneath it,
Yeah.
even though the school district owns it.
And
Oh, okay.
Carol Valakovic's point is excellent, because the 4 parcels of land become 1 parcel of land under this plan. So the MOU that applies
Well,
to our building
Will
now,
include-
it should apply to a larger piece of
Right.
land.
Oh, okay.
It's to preserve the status quo and to not pay those $4,000-ish in taxes.
So there's no board action on this, we want to update you, any other questions? Sufficiently covered? Jason, Rick, you got a question?
No.
Alright.
Actually, the parcels, like, weren't they different prices?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
There's 2 parcels, different sized.
Yeah. One's valued at about 100,000 and one at about 75. Based on the last time that they valued property in Gilderland, which was
That's not gonna factor in anything, that's not gonna bother.
Our understanding from talking with the town is that the town would, the town suggested this course of action, and implicit in that suggestion is that if the 4 pieces of land were one,
Mhm.
they'd all be not-for-profit. So that's the reason we're trying to do this.
The value of the large lot is 280,
Hmm.
and the value of the smaller lot is 40, so you're talking 320.
Wow, I misread on the bills, there are numbers that are 175 for the 2 lots, so.
maybe the assessed value?
This is historical cost.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
the
probably the
historical
assessed
cost.
value
Yeah.
that you're
Okay.
looking at.
Yeah,
The
Alright.
smaller one is parking lot.
No,
This way,
No.
no,
the furthest east.
west of the yellow house lot.
Oh,
It's a smaller lot, it's not
It's
even
east.
level, it's, east, yes, rather.
220.
didn't know what it was there.
Alright.
by the way, one minor issue that we talked about there that we have no idea how it would resolve, but, there is a shed on one of the lots, and, I don't think any of us sees that shed in our long-term future, but, it's essentially a piece of property on the lot, so it could become an issue, in transferring the ownership. They may not wanna own a shed.
Do we store anything in that shed?
We store some shelving in it, but it's really a bad place to store things. They end up rusting. It's not good. One of my little things that I'd love to do is offer it to the fire department for an exercise.
That's a good idea.
We'll see if that comes about.
Okay, beautiful. Alright, moving on, let's adopt the minutes to our September meeting. I don't think, you can't vote on this, can I? But if, does that matter? Do we have enough votes to pass it?
You can.
I wasn't here.
He wasn't,
You
no, he
didn't
wasn't
vote.
there. He can't vote on it if he wasn't there, because he doesn't know what happened.
Because we've had people.
Have you watched it?
Believe it or not, I've not watched the board meeting, I was not here for it.
You didn't watch it while you were on in Colorado?
have, but now I
I'm gonna leave the wedding reception to go watch my board meeting.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
So I just won't vote on it because I think it's you just need a majority of the people present to pass something. So.
I think we all work.
So. All right. All right. Motion to accept the minutes.
Yeah, I check.
All right.
Make
Carol.
a motion.
I'll second.
Kate. All right. All those in favor? Opposed? All right. Unanimous. Okay. Was that executive session time? Okay. Motion to enter executive session. Motion. Second?
I'll keep it up, I'll second.
Second. All right. All right. Okay. So we're in executive session.
No.